you can get information on whether or not you can proceed with the healing, because there may be a lot of things going on with the person, and it may be contractual or karmic. So that's one of the main examples as healers we can use by tapping into the higher dimensions. We can tap in through the seventh dimension, and we can talk, through the soul. We can talk to other people's souls and get information about this reality, about them. Obviously it's all consensual, and it's all only if they allow that, or if their soul allows that. We do have to use discernment when we do that, because there's a lot of entities floating around. There's a lot of imposter spirits. There's a lot of things that can pretend to be somebody else. So we have to be careful if the information that we're receiving is pure, or if it's an imposter entity. So it can take months, it can take years to gain that true discernment, and it's through the crown chakra that we receive that divine soul guidance. So I wanted to give some examples of my personal experiences when it comes to traveling through the dimensions and some multidimensional experiences. I feel that anytime you talk from experience and you talk from something that's happened to you, there's certain codes, whoever is listening can tune in and tap into that vibration of what really happened, and it can activate you, and you can receive. It's kind of like a way of learning multidimensionally through somebody else's experience. I don't know if any of you have ever, somebody's telling you a story and you start perceiving like smells or like sounds or feelings, and those are all, the more we open ourselves up to our higher senses, our higher faculties, we can tune in and learn from the collective, learn from others' experience, and help each other out in that way. So one of my experiences that comes to mind is I was in Bulgaria, and I was going to this place called Belintash. It's a sacred site. It's a very sacred place. It used to be a gathering site for the Thracians, who were said to be direct ancestors of the Atlanteans. And it's very interesting because over there, if you go there, the energy, first of all, it's a beautiful place to visit. If you're ever in Eastern Europe, go to Bulgaria, go to Belintash, Rio Mountain. There's tons of different places in Bulgaria. It's a very spiritual country. So what happened that day was, as we were going up to get to the top of the mountain, I was told that there's portals up there, and if you're not careful, you can go into one and not come out of the portal. And at the time, I wasn't really as open to multidimensional perception, so I thought to myself, okay, they're just pulling my chain, what? What's gonna happen? Let's be realistic here. But I got to the top, and it's interesting because there's holes, there's holes that are up to 2 meters in diameter, and they're perfectly drilled. It's almost as if something drilled out that hole, and they're very deep, sometimes they get filled up with water. So when I got up there, the first thing I noticed was this rock really caught my attention. And from the side, it kind of looked like a tiger's face. So instinctively, I went to that rock. And when I got there, it kind of looked like the command module of a spaceship. Like, it even looked like there's a chair to sit down in. And so I sat down in my imaginary spaceship. And all of a sudden, I started, with my third eye, I started seeing this being with an elongated head. And it starts levitating. It's sitting in the lotus position. It starts levitating, and it starts hovering above me, and then slowly moves right above the abyss. It's probably 2,000-3,000 feet down. The feeling I experienced after I saw that is just completely indescribable. I felt that I was going to completely lose control, like all ability to control my bodily functions. I felt like I was just going to start levitating and just go and just go into the abyss. My human perception obviously wouldn't allow that, so I got really, really scared, and I closed my eyes. The energy that I was feeling, like I had to physically hold the rock to keep myself in one place. And I opened my eyes, I saw a bird flying overhead, and I thought the bird was gonna eat me or something. It was very, it was all these feelings of fear, and like I had to use every ounce of energy I had in my body to not throw myself off that rock and see if I can levitate with my new friend that I just met through the portal that was present there. And so I barely, it took me a couple of minutes, and I barely was able to just crawl away from that rock in particular. And then a string of curse words came out of my mouth that I'm not going to recall right now, but it was for like a minute straight. I had to gather myself and like contain myself. So that's, that's what can happen if you're not careful, and if you are traveling, if you're going to a spiritual place, always be mindful. If there's guides, like, listen to what they say, and if you can read the energy yourself, listen to your guidance, and always put up a protection around yourself. And if you want to levitate, do it at home first, like not up a rock.
I'll keep that in mind.
So that was one of the experiences I had. Another experience I had was actually very recently. We went to Mount Shasta, and we had a whole team over there, except we're over here. And before I went on that trip, I received a transmission from the